Good people, thank you for being there. Let's continue. I have been talking about a constitution that was handed over to the nation of the Jews and how they failed with it. Permit me to read that same portion of the scripture that we have been making use of. Exodus chapter number 20, verse number 2. Let's read again. And it says, I am the Lord thy God, which have brought thee out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. We are talking about how God introduced himself to the recipient of that very constitution. That introduction really matters much. We have taken time to talk about the expression, I am the Lord thy God. Let's go further by looking on this statement, which brought thee out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. And I said in my last video that it is always easy to forget where one started in life. In that video, I made it very clear that even in our African continent, most of the leaders quickly forget where they started. Not only the leaders, but also everyone that happens to grow from small level to great level. God said, I am the Lord thy God who brought you out of the land of Egypt, the house of bondage. Let's look at the implication of this. Number one, when Israelites left Canaan land in search of food, as directed by their father when there was famine all over the world, they entered Egypt. It happened that they had their brother Joseph already in Egypt, who happened to be a prime minister in Egypt. And he made a wonderful provision for them. They were all wonderful citizens of Egypt, even though they came there as an alien. But they were integrated in the land of Egypt and they become wonderful citizens because their brother Joseph was a prime minister in the land. And that's a good and wonderful development. But years later, something happened. Joseph died. Another Pharaoh came up, and that Pharaoh could not recognize the Israelites and as bona fide citizens of Egypt. That was when they started being treated as slaves. From there, they become good slaves in the land. They don't have say in the land. They don't have rights in the land. Today, people say, you are trampling on my right. It is my right. It is my right on this. For a slave, there is nothing like right. And that is exactly what became their lot. They started suffering. One of the greatest ugly development that happened in their life was that they become machinery in the hand of the Egyptian government in developing the entire city. They were building cities. They would point at a place that is very, very ugly, that is in topography, and they would tell the Israelites to start building that very place for them. They become the machinery in their hands. They were suffering. They were in a very serious pain and agony. If we look at Exodus chapter number 1, we will see how the Bible summed it up. Let's look at Exodus chapter number 1 and verse number 22. It says, and Pharaoh charged all his people, saying, every son that is born ye shall cast into the river, and every daughter ye shall save alive. That is a very deadly policy that was raised by the government to bring about a reduction of the number of the people. That is the numerical strength of the Israelites was being reduced through this very policy. It's a very deadly one. But in summary of what actually transpired, if we read the book of Exodus chapter number 2, verses number 23 and 24, he says, "And it came to pass in process of time that the king of Egypt died, and the children of Israel sighed by reason of the bondage, and they cried, and their cry came up unto God by reason of the bondage. And God heard their groaning, and God remembered his covenant with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And God looked upon the children of Israel, and God had respect unto them." So this is just the summary of the scenario. If we look at this development, we discover that at this juncture, they have become slaves. No slave has rights. No matter where you are a slave, even in the palace, you don't have right there. Nobody protects you. They use you the way they like. Today in Africa, there are some tribes that are being treated as if they are slaves. I want us to know that all of us have equal right and equal standing before God, who created all of us. That was why God said, "I am the Lord that created you. I am the Lord thy God, who brought you out of Egypt." Let's not forget the fact that God, who created all of us, made us equal before him. This segregation that we see in the society is not of God. Permit me to say this as a matter of emphasis. The children of Israel, who happened to be slaves before the Egyptians, we are not slaves in the eyes of God. But the pain they were passing through attracted the attention of God. Having said this, I want to stop this video by telling us that we are all equal before God. There is no second-class citizen. There is no first-class citizen. We are all equal, irrespective of your racial background, irrespective of your color, irrespective of your language, irrespective of the environment you have or geographical setting where you have found yourself. All of us are equal before God. But God said, "I am the Lord who brought you out of the land of Egypt, the house of bondage," reminding them that they started somewhere. Now they have experienced freedom. They shouldn't forget where they started. In my next video, I will talk more on this expression, "I am the Lord thy God who brought you out of Egypt from the house of bondage." Call me Pastor Elisha, the reformer with difference and a rising voice in Africa.